What if your students could step inside the Louvre Museum, or explore Frida Kahlo's studio, or even walk through the streets of ancient cities, all without leaving your classroom? Well, in this episode, we explore the Google Arts and Culture app with French teacher and tech integration specialist Heidi Trude. From boosting cultural understanding to sparking meaningful conversations, Heidi shares creative ways to use this free tool to make language and culture come alive in your classroom. So let's jump in. Are you a language teacher looking for some reassurance that what you're doing in the classroom is on the right track? Or maybe you're looking for some ways to teach even more effectively. If you're one or the other or somewhere in between, you've landed in the right place. This is the World Language Classroom Podcast with your host, me, Joshua Cabral. You're about to get tips, tools, and resources so that your students continue to rise in proficiency and communicate with confidence. Let's jump in. Vamos, allons-y. Hello, my friends. Bonjour, mes amis. Hola, mis amigos. Welcome to the World Language Classroom Podcast. I am Joshua Cabral, and you know I have to start every episode by reminding you that you are an incredible educator. If somebody hasn't told you that this week, hear it now. Hopefully you're listening to this early in the week, so you hear it early and often, but you're an incredible educator. The one thing I know about you is you're listening to a podcast about language teaching, and you're likely not in your classroom with students, so you're doing this on your own time, and I'm so appreciative to have you in this community. So thank you for all that you're doing. On today's episode, we're going to get pretty techie. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about AI and stuff lately. Yes, that's technology, but we've kind of moved away from things like apps and websites and all that because we talk so much about AI. But we're going to kind of go back to our roots a little bit and using technology that's maybe not so AI related all the time. We're going to talk specifically about the Google Arts and Culture app. And to have this conversation, I have the one and only Heidi Trude, a French teacher in Virginia, and she's been teaching for 17 years at the high school level. And she's had all those levels like 1 through 5, AP, IB, you name it. And she's also part of the team helping teachers to integrate technology into their classrooms in general. She is the past president of FLAVA, which is her state language association in Virginia. And you know, I love a state language association. I know all the work that they do. So thanks for doing that. But not only that, but in 2017, she was the teacher of the year for FLAVA in Virginia. And then she was the teacher of the year for 2018 at SCOLT, which then put her up for being a finalist for the ACTFL Teacher of the Year in 2019. So yes, we are in the company of greatness today. So Heidi, this has been such a pleasure to think about all of this topic today, and I am so excited to dive in and learn all about the Google Arts and Culture app with you. So welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Joshua. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Like, that warmed my heart so much and brought me so much joy because I also feel like I am in the company of a famous person too. I remember seeing you at ACTFL this fall in Philly, and I was like sitting there with my bestie, and I'm like, that's Joshua Cabral. I'm fangirling right now. And I was so nervous to even just go up and say hello to you because I feel you're a celebrity. So thank you for calling me a celebrity and making me feel amazing too. And I'm ready to rock and roll and get techie with you.
Yeah, I love our teacher community, our language teacher community, where you go to events like teacher conferences, language teacher conferences, and you feel like you are seeing these teacher superstars and these great people, and then you leave the building and nobody knows who you are. But while you're there and while you're on social media, you just have this great bond with all these teachers doing great things. So I absolutely love it. So are you ready to talk about this Google Arts and Culture app?
I am so ready to share about Google Arts and Culture to all of you all.
First, I just want to know how you discovered it, because when you told me this was the topic you wanted to talk about, I didn't have the app on my tablet. I didn't have it on my phone. So I downloaded it and started looking at it to see, and it's incredible. So, how did you first stumble upon this and say, oh, this is something that would be useful in a language class?
I actually learned about it from another language teacher, Berta Delgadillo. She happened to casually mention it in one of either her blog or on her Facebook. And I was like, ooh, this sounds really interesting. Let me dive into it a little more. So I started playing with it, found out what it was. I sent her a message and she was like, hey, do you want to collaborate with me and make some resources to go along with it to make some chat mats to help our learners? And I was like, of course I want to collaborate with you because you're also greatness. And I'm like, yes, let's do this. So we started collaborating, making resources. So that's how I first learned about it. But then it was time to play.
And so when it was time to start using it, what sort of led you to believe like, oh yes, this is a good fit for the classroom? Like, what brought you to that?
Yeah. So when I started playing with it, I realized a lot of us have an arts unit in whatever level we teach, in some way, shape, or form, whatever your curriculum looks like. Arts, beauty, aesthetics, it's all there somewhere. So I was thinking, I need to make art more real for my students. And a lot of this came up during the pandemic. And as you know, a lot of us were teaching on Zoom then, little screens with kids in boxes that you probably saw, maybe you didn't see. And I'm like, we can't go on field trips right now. We need something to make the arts feel real because I can't just take you to the National Gallery anymore. I can't take you to our Virginia Fine Arts Museum, but I can take you there on your phone. Kids love their phones. We can use them for a learning purpose. So I was like, well, we can do this. So I started playing, and there's all these different modes that the kids can play with that bring the arts to life for them. So there's one called Art Portrait, which is my favorite because they basically pick up their device, they hold it up, and they can see any of the thousands of paintings that are already preloaded in augmented reality. So they see not only the painting, but they see how big or how small it is, which to them, they always think, oh, Mona Lisa's huge, is what they think. That's their perception. Then when they pop it up on their phone and it shoots onto the wall, they're like, whoa, she's really that tiny?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the uses. I also had them do, for comparison, there's art selfie mode. So you take your selfie of yourself and then it compares your face to a famous painting. It's sometimes really good and accurate. Sometimes it's really funny. And then the one that the kids love, which got them all talking, was pet portrait. Mm-hmm. So they put a picture of their pet, any kind of pet, even if it's like something that's not a dog or a cat, it can find an animal that's similar. I've had kids use like snakes and lizards, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. It works. And it will compare your pet to an actual painting. So those are some of the cool app features.
Is this a free app? Are there add-ons? Tell us about that.
It is completely free. Completely free. Like, it's incredible. You literally have hundreds and thousands of paintings, museums, historical content, all at your fingertips for free.
And this was not initially intended to be an educational product in terms of using it in a classroom with students. Like, this was meant for people who wanted to learn about art. So you've found how to bring it into the classroom.
Exactly. Like, this is just a Google tool, another feature of the Google Suite. But it has such a powerful use, not just in world languages, but other content areas. Or you could collaborate with someone, say in social studies, or collaborate with your art teacher and do more projects and more basically just cross-curricular activities with it. I think it's an amazing tool. It's kind of a hidden gem of Google that a lot of folks don't know about.
If we look at traditionally the way that we would use resources in the classroom, so when students are learning about art and history and culture, how has using this tool enhanced that experience for them in a way that maybe not using this tool would?
So for me, this has really got my students talking more. A lot of them used to tell me, they're like, it used to be boring, the arts unit. And I'm like, well, why? They're like, well, because we would just see some slide decks or whatever. But they're like, now we can actually go into the art. They can literally scroll and zoom in as much as they want to see like the finest brushstroke, like all the way in. So when we're describing one of their projects they do is they have to describe a work of art of their choosing of a Francophone artist that really speaks to them. So they can get in there and they can see every little detail, every brush stroke of Monet or whatever is speaking to them. So they can get all those fine details and feel like I am in the museum, I'm in the Orsay, I'm in the Louvre, even though they may never go there. They actually feel like they're right there living that painting, like it's alive for them.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about what the search is like? So you need to go looking. Are there already collections? Are you starting from scratch when it comes to searching? And then I will ask you this now so you could just tag on. Like, once we found it
Yeah.
all, is there some way of curating the pieces of art in one place in your own like personal account, I guess? And how does that work in terms of then sharing that out with students? So talk about that
Yeah.
whole process of the logistics for us.
So that part, I do a lot on the web version for my curating. So there's the app, which I do more of the play to get them excited about art. And literally the feature on the app is called play. So the play has all the fun and the toys for them to kind of get them into art and excited. But then once we get excited, I'm like, now we're going to transition to the web version. And that's where they have everything curated. They have it on the phone version too. However, I like to curate more on the web. I just find for me, I like the bigger screen than my small little phone. So I curate on the web. And then you can build your own like gallery per se, or you can go to the ones that are already curated, and the ones I sometimes find what they have curated is better than what I can build because they have it already with photos, the actual artwork. They have videos linked in. They have you kind of going through the museum and someone's already taken the time to do that. Now, if I want to, I can customize it and tweak it or take them and add them to mine. Maybe I want to tweak it more to my target language. Maybe I need to take out a painting, but it's kind of a way I can adjust if needed, or you can self-curate if you knew you were doing different units or different artists and you want things a little different, you can do that. But my kind of motto is always why works harder, work smarter. So if it's there and it fits my need, I'm just going to use it.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about the word arts, like we're talking about paintings, but what does that mean to have arts? What are the different mediums that you might find on the app?
So they have paintings, they have sculptures, they've got like statues that aren't sculpture, just like metal workings. They have music. Anything that fits in the realm of the arts is there. Like it's mind-blowing to see what all is there for free. Like my art teacher in my building wasn't even aware of it. And they were like, how did we not know this exists? I'm like, yeah, it exists. And now in IB, my IB students are using it because they take IB art as well. And they're like, we can use this to make our connections we need for our IB. I'm like, yeah, it's there. It's free. Why not use it? And like, I go on there. You can subscribe even on Google Arts and Culture. They have like a little thing if you want like an art moment of the day, and it'll pop in your inbox. So if you need like just to fill your heart with art joy, it'll send you like a fun did you know something or other about art. So it's pretty cool.
So if we make the connection now specifically to our world language classes,
Absolutely.
So all of this great stuff, this art, now can you give us some examples of how you've had students engage with the target language, in your case French, but whatever language they might be using, where what are they doing with the art and this app in French, and in what levels, and what are they doing with that?
I'll just start at novice level first. So a fun way to get the kids talking, we all know in target language, is if they can talk about themselves, their families, their pets. So with my novice level ones, I'll have them play in our feature with the pet portraits because everybody loves to talk about their pets. We know this. Like when we're in the family unit, what do they want to talk about? Their pets. So I'm like, okay, how can we really bring this in and make this even more fun? And I do it with the family unit, but yet I use the arts and culture app, is have them bring a selfie of their pet in, ask them to put it in the app, and then we compare it. Okay, here's your pet. And now it looks like, and what I do is I make a Padlet and they're all uploading so we can see everyone's responses of, okay, here's Susie's dog and it looks like this famous dog. Here's Josie's cat and it compares to this cat. So then I just start asking the kids simple questions. PQA, like, what does the cat look like? Is it big? Is it small? Is this cat bigger than, just different comparisons. So simple comparing and contrasting with them, and what do they see, and they love it. Like, and then they give opinions of, no, this doesn't look like my cat at all, or this looks like my dog but it doesn't look like Joe's dog. We'll not stop talking about it because it's something they're familiar with and it's something they're interested in. And at the same time, we're seeing artwork from around the world, which I think is really powerful for them. So that's one way to do it in a novice class: basic comparisons and basic conversation. With my level 4s, we have an arts unit that lasts pretty much most of our third quarter. They start their introduction, and you all will get this resource. I'll put it in the show notes. I call it Introduction to Art Through Play. And we play through the app for them just to kind of see different artwork and explore it. And they have to go through, it details to them what features of the app they have to go through. And then they're writing down their thoughts and their reflections in French on their worksheet, which then leads them to step 2 of our unit with it, where they're now going and picking one painting that really spoke to them. And we're doing Padlet videos where they're putting a picture of that work of art, and then they're giving a detailed description, like describing every little thing about the art as well as their opinion. Which then it leads to the last part where we recreate an art museum. The kids recreate, pick an artist, a Francophone artist. If you don't teach French, pick your target language culture and have them pick an artist and pick their favorite painting by that artist. The kids paint it, and then I have them do an audio recording. I turn those into QR codes. So think about, if you're in an actual museum, you go around and you see, oh, to find out more about this painting, you scan the QR code. The kids do the same thing with this project where they go out. I have them all around the hallways in my building. They scan the QR codes and they're writing down all their notes. Like, I've made a pre-populated little question sheet and document. So they're having the interpretive listening by figuring out who's this artist or what artist was born here and where and what was this painting about. And they're out in the hallways pretty much the whole class period using their phone to scan and learn all about the artist. And it's just incredible. And it all stems from starting with Google Arts and Culture app.
And in terms of what is actually on the site, so say it's a painting, is there a description of the painting, or when students are finding out more information about the artist or the painting, are you sending them somewhere else?
It'll tell you when you look at it, it'll give you who the artist is, what museum it's in, a little description of the artist, a description of the painting. Like, you can get all that there. And then the kids sometimes do have to go a little further for their final project with it, because I make them talk more about the artist's life and their artist's background, etc. So they can't get everything from Google Arts and Culture, but it gives them links to resources of where to go. Like, say what they were looking at was in the Louvre, it's going to connect them right there to the Louvre. If it tells them it's in MoMA, it's going to connect them to that website. It's the starting point. And then they branch from there and go whichever way they need to go. And if they change their setting in Google, it will also be in your target language.
Oh, that was my next question. I was just going to ask you that. I was going to say, can you change it to the target language? What has been your favorite activity or project that you've done that has been most well received by students?
I think the favorite is definitely the virtual museum, or we call it the interactive museum, because it's a way that since we can't always go to a museum, we bring the museum to us, but then everyone feels like the ownership. I've contributed to this museum. I made a painting or a sculpture. I've contributed some work of art. I've shared my voice. I've learned about it. And now I'm getting to recognize and appreciate all this other art and know all of these other artists and this world that exists within the realm of arts. Because it's not just, oh, we read a biography and now we looked at some paintings. It's like we lived it, we breathed
Mm-hmm.
it, we experienced it. And it's probably one of my favorites out of all my projects we ever do is this unit. And the kids know, like, they know I'm like 100% in and so happy when we're doing it.
I want to go down the road of the future with technology. And as a technology integration specialist, as well as a language teacher, I would like to get your thoughts on how you see tools like this Google Arts and Culture app and website shaping the future of how we teach cultural understanding and global awareness in the classroom. Because sometimes teachers are a little, we don't want to look at more screens, or I have some fear with technology and I'm not really comfortable with it. But what is your case as the technology integration specialist and a person who loves using apps like this with her students? Like, how is that helping to shape cultural understanding for students? And like, what's the elevator pitch for why we should be looking at this?
Even though I love technology, I also don't want my kids on it all the time. But I feel there's a time and a place that we can use technology if we're using it for the right purpose. We all don't have the resources or the funding to always go on field trips, whether that be going to another country and experiencing those cultures live, or whether that's going to a city a couple hours away to get to the art museum to see those paintings live. We have tools that are free, like Google Arts and Culture, that can bring the world into our classroom, both in the sense of augmented reality through the app, where, yes, the Mona Lisa can literally be on your classroom wall, or if the kids put it up on the ceiling, it can be wherever they aim their phone. And they can see the magnitude of, oh, these works of art are really big. Or, oh, I never realized this was so tiny. Or, I never realized that there was so many different francophone artists out there and all this culture that's so accessible. Like, it puts it at our fingertips, and then the kids start getting curious, and then they start looking even more into it and getting that sense of wonder, which I love. And they'll come back and they'll tell me, Madame, did you know about this artist and how they were connected to this and that? And it's like, they're hooked. So I don't see it as something bad. We're giving them a gateway to understanding not only their own culture, but understanding other worlds and other cultures and how we're both similar and different. So I think it's a great tool for all of us, and just to kind of give them some free reign and let them experience it and let them bring what they learn back into our classrooms.
I think sometimes we need to hear that. We need those reminders. We need to hear, I call it often the elevator pitch. Like, what's the quick and easy? Why should I be looking into this? And so, as you continue to expand your repertoire as a teacher in technology and language teaching, what are some recommendations that you could give to us about where you're continuing to learn?
I love conferences, and I love going to conferences and presenting at conferences. I'll share my two absolute favorites. So if you can't do a live in person, one's a virtual. So I absolutely love going to SCOLT, the Southern Conference on Language Teaching. I just find it's the most fun. The vibe there is really chill, and you learn a lot, and there's some amazing and incredible educators there. So SCOLT always has a special place in my heart. And then the other conference that I love, it's during the summer, but it's Conference in the Cloud. And that one's virtual, so you don't have to go anywhere.
I have not been to SCOLT. I've been to a couple of the other regionals and a lot of the states. I hear a lot about SCOLT. And so I'm definitely going to have to get there one of these days. And so, how can our listeners be reaching out to you to learn more about what you're doing, to connect with you and find resources and cool ideas for technology?
Yeah. So you can always reach me on my email, which we'll link in the show notes, but it's techietrude@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook at Heidi Trude. I am on Instagram at HLT2007. I'm on X, but I'm going to be migrating to Blue Sky. Just watch my socials for that. And I also have my website, Tech with Trude, which will link that in the show notes as well. So reach out to me in any way. I love connecting with teachers and collaborating. So
And I always like to leave our listeners with what I call a hearty piece of advice at the end. It could be about life, teaching, anything you want to leave us with. What's a nice, hearty piece of advice for us?
don't compare yourself to others. A lot of people think, oh, I just heard Heidi talking about this and there's no way that I'm techie like her. I can't do this in my classroom, or it's not going to look like what she's describing. Yeah, it's not going to look like what I might do. Each of us are individuals. And I think that's what we all have to remember is what I do is going to look different than the way Joshua would do it with his students than from someone else. And I think we all have to remember we're individuals and we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to other people because we each are amazing and unique in our own ways. So, especially if you're a newer teacher, just remember you are awesome and don't compare yourself to someone else. Comparison is the thief of joy.
I like that you pointed out that, we are individuals. As much as we collaborate and we learn from each other, we're individuals. And as an individual teacher myself and having this conversation with you, I was incredibly inspired by you. And so I want to try this app in my classroom and try the website version as well. And I'm sure it'll end up looking differently than what you talked about and whoever's doing that. But what we got from you was inspiration to try something new if we haven't in our classrooms. So thank you for all of the wonderful details and the ideas and just your infectious high spirit about technology and teaching. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Joshua. It's been an absolute pleasure, and this is like a bucket list item for me. So thank you.
What are your takeaways from that conversation with Heidi Trude? I hope that you're feeling inspired to download the Google Arts and Culture app and start exploring how you can use it with your students. Be sure to check out the show notes to connect with Heidi Trude and get the resource that she referenced that will help guide you in using the Google Arts and Culture app in your classroom. You'll also see the link to sign up for Talking Points, my weekly email newsletter with tips and resources for language teaching. There are also links to get in touch with me if you'd like to work together. Remember, we can do that either in person in your school or remotely. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the World Language Classroom podcast. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so that you never miss an episode. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Connect with me on X, aka Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at WL Classroom. And for even more valuable resources, visit my website, WLClassroom.com, where you'll find over 300 blog posts about language teaching. So stay inspired, keep growing, and continue making a difference in your language classroom.